Welcome back. Overnight, a judge temporarily blocked the U.S. Postal Service from enforcing mail-in voting restrictions pushed by President Trump. Now, under the ruling, the president's executive order cannot be implemented for 14 days. That order directed USPS to withhold mail ballots from states that did not provide lists of voters who should receive them. CBS News election law expert and contributor David Becker joins us now. He's also the executive director of the Center for Election Innovation and Research. David, good morning and welcome. Look, our viewers are busy. They got lives to get to, and they got a weekend to get to, and everything I just said is a little complicated. Can you just break down for the layman what this means to people who will be receiving mail-in ballots in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, good morning, Errol. The really short response is mail voting is going to happen just as it always has. If that's the way you prefer to vote, you're going to be able to vote according to the laws in your state that way. That was the way it was earlier this week. And then the Supreme Court came in and stayed a previous injunction against this radical seizure of the power to run elections and to regulate mail voting by the federal government. That's not constitutional. The Supreme Court didn't say it was constitutional. They just said, we're going to hit pause on this. It's a little too early to bring this case. We're going to wait till it's finalized. But the Postal Service issued a final rule that made clear they were going to impose these vast new requirements on the states in order to just do what they've always done, which was to offer voters an opportunity to vote by mail. And what we saw last night, which Judge Talwani in the District Court of Massachusetts said, we're going to restrain this order for now, temporary restraining order for 14 days. She's going to hold a preliminary injunction hearing next week, which will likely formalize that injunction, block this from going into effect. There will likely be appeals, but I think it's just too late for that to change. And I think it's very likely voters are going to see no changes to their mail voting process.
And explain what it is the president wants to happen. He wrote this and issued this executive order asking for what exactly?
Well, so the executive order would have required the Department of Homeland Security to create this massive new federal national voter database, which Congress has never authorized. It would require the Postal Service to inject itself in the mail voting process of every state, review every single mail voter the states wanted to send ballots to under a very tight timeline. That would likely be a problem. We also know the Postal Service has no expertise or capacity to do this well. Neither does DHS. The states are doing this very well already. That's what the original order would say. We also know the president, though, despite his complaints about mail voting, he's already voted by mail twice this year alone. Once when he was physically present in Palm Beach County where he votes and could have gone and voted early in person because polls were open at that point in time. So while he's apparently trying to restrict mail voting for others, he's still embracing it himself.
So, David, the president also claims this is necessary because of election fraud. We haven't been able to confirm that there has been any, or that especially any that has changed an outcome of any poll. So what do you say to viewers who may receive some mail-in ballots over the next few weeks, because this does sow confusion and chaos? What should people do if they are being told, well, the president has a new law, things are being done differently?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of confusion, and that might even be the purpose of all of this. There might be attempts to create chaos and confusion in the minds of voters out there. We've been doing mail voting for a very long time, since at least the Civil War. The election officials have it really down pat, not just in blue states, but also in red states. States like Utah and Montana and many others do a lot of mail voting. Florida has a lot of mail voting. So mail voting is something the states have done for a long time. Voters know it's secure. They embrace it when it's available. Over 3/4 of the states offer mail voting to anyone without an excuse. Military and overseas voters rely upon mail voting, and that's really important so that they can be enfranchised. And the real key lesson here for voters, if they choose to vote by mail, and that's just an option, other really good options are early in-person voting. That's how I personally vote, and also voting in person on Election Day. But if you choose to vote by mail, listen only to your local election officials. They're the ones who will tell you how to navigate this process. Follow the process. Make sure you get your ballot early and drop it off, if possible, in a drop box or an election office.
And as you say, President Trump likes to mail in his vote. If it's good enough for the president, I think it's good enough for you all.
Yes.
David Becker.
I'm not surprised David Becker votes early in person. I love that. I'm the person who's there running at the end, trying to get there before the poll closes. David, thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.